to the ancient peoples, and especially the Egyptians, cosmology and astronomy and astrology were very important. When I read through Abraham this time, I could see that this was probably a temple type ritual.
Welcome back to the Stick of Joseph. I am joining you as a host today. I am Hayden Paul. Wait a second. No, I'm Brad Whitbeck. Here we have Dave Butler. We are being joined today by Kolob Williams, Library of Godwin, and our new friend, Brian Thomason.
Hi.
So we are going to be going over today a little bit of some interesting stuff. Some heretical? Is that what you called it, Brian?
I called it heretical.
Yeah,
some heretical art.
Heretical-looking art.
In my troll sock puppet account, I called it Freemasonic.
Yeah.
It's you all along.
We're going to be going over a little bit of the symbolism in the art put out by Library of Godwin. So, take it away.
Yeah, so for this one, I'll give you a little bit of the backstory.
And this one's not in your Book of Mormon.
No, this is not in the Book of Mormon. This one was a side project I did because as I was working on my Book of Mormon art, I saw the normal anti-haters making fun of Kolob, and, it really hurt my heart. So I decided to actually figure out what was up with Kolob. I did some research, and I felt like I should do an artistic depiction of what I was seeing as I was reading Kolob, because as I read it, I felt like I saw the temple there in a way that I hadn't before. And so that's what I've done with this piece. So I released this piece kind of in the middle of last year, but I haven't really done a breakdown of it as such with people.
We're excited to hear it. I see the eye, one of your recurring symbols from your Book of Mormon edition.
Yes.
Generally symbolizing God.
Yes,
And,
God.
Yeah, and with Kolob,
Although also-
not the planet he lives on, but the star nearest him.
Yeah.
Although also the eye of the viewer, right? I mean, we talked about this piece last time and said, hey, this is the choice. This eye tells us is about the choice that the reader has to make between the two churches Nephi talks about.
Yeah, it's one of those symbols that I think you can use in a few different ways. It's also on the cover of the Illustrated Book of Mormon as kind of the Eye of Providence. But here it works as a symbol of God's all-seeing eye, his omniscience, his ultimate knowledge. And in the story of Kolob, the idea of intelligence, of ultimate intelligence is key, which is why when I was trying to decide how to depict God and his throne, I went with the all-seeing eye there. Somewhat heretically, but
Very cool.
Yeah.
I like it.
Ladies and gents, we are weeks away from being back in the studio, making content and learning together, doing the stuff that we love. And so we're so grateful that this past year you have continued to support the channel, especially the people that have so graciously donated to help keep operations up and running as we've been gone. Before we get back to the video, I just want to let you know, Jonah Barnes's The Lost Gems of Genesis has been flying off virtual shelves and has been sweeping the globe. I've heard, full leaders of nations have been talking about it. It is amazing. So if you want to see what the hype is about, get 6+ hours of bonus conversations between Jonah and Mike and Dave and Brad. Then get your copy of The Lost Gems of Genesis, link in the description. The audiobook comes with the physical copy. And for the next 24 hours, use code Kolob for 20% off. God bless.
So explain some of the other symbols here. We've got some really fascinating, orbit inspired circles, right? And some, even some, is it alchemical? I guess these are more astrological symbols.
Yeah. So you've got some, I bring in a lot of the tradition of European art. The alchemical art is a big inspiration. And here, the cosmology of Kolob I thought was important. Because I'm not an expert in Egyptology, but as I understand, to the ancient peoples, and especially the Egyptians, cosmology and astronomy and astrology were very important. So when I read through Abraham this time, I could see that this was probably a temple-type ritual, but the vehicle through which it was communicated was not the narrative that maybe we're familiar with, but that it was a cosmological story. And that might have made more sense to the people of those times. And so, yeah.
So are you assuming a Ptolemaic cosmology, or are you assuming a cosmology that is outside of that?
That's where it gets a little bit technical beyond my expertise. I just kind of look at the art of the early art of the Christians, and even going back further, and then reading in Abraham and trying to kind of map that out here with the cosmology of Kolob.
Well, walk us through it.
Yeah. So let's see. It's kind of divided into these three sections. At the bottom, you've got the Earth and the Moon, which is named Jahweh and Olea in Abraham and in the facsimiles, and that is the mortal experience, the mortal realm. And then you have its orbit around Shineha, the sun, and you've got the two other planets in there I threw in just kind of because it's fun with their traditional astrological symbols.
So that's Venus. No. What are those two other planets?
Yeah, with Mercury and Venus.
Mercury and
Venus.
Mercury and Venus.
Yeah.
With their astrological symbols.
Yeah, Mars is like the little arrow pointing up.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So if this expanded, I would have done those as well.
That's just on the outer, like when the orbit of Mars is far enough, it's right under Joseph's foot.
That's right. Yeah.
So we're not quite there.
Yeah. There you go. And then you've got that realm of orbiting of the Earth and the Moon orbiting the sun, and then you've got a larger orbit around Kolob as the central star, and as the figure that I see as the symbol of Jehovah in the Abraham story and in the facsimiles, and that pillar of light that's connecting Kai A Van Rash. There's different ways you maybe could look at it. I looked at it and I saw priesthood authority and priesthood power tethering man here on earth and in a telestial existence up to the Savior, up to Jehovah, and that's the operative power. Because it speaks about Kai A Van Rash being the vehicle by which light from Kolob is given to the sun, and then the sun to earth. And then it also talks about the other stars around Kolob. So Kolob is described as the star closest to God, the intelligence that is the closest to the state of God. But then it talks about these other great intelligences. Specifically, it calls out Oliblish, and I wondered if maybe that might be Michael serving next to Kolob Jehovah in that narrative.
Yeah.
So hold on. I want to rewind because you're going very fast, actually.
Yeah, okay.
But I think the answer to Brian's question is this is not a Ptolemaic cosmology, right? I think we have the Earth orbiting around the sun, and I want to sort of just observe some other things I'm seeing there. So you've got a frame around that orbit that is divided into 12 segments.
Yes.
Which that's a very resonant number. In this context, I think it's probably obviously suggests the zodiac. It might also suggest the 12 apostles or the 12 tribes of Israel.
Yeah, 12 is like a priesthood number, significance to priesthood order.
And I like how it
authority.
fits 12 months also, you know?
Yeah. So tell me about the number of rings here. Like, should I be counting the bands or the lines that separate the bands? How many rings do you have around Shineha?
Let's see, around Shineha. I think I just did just to show the orbits of the different spheres. So there's not necessarily a significance to the number there.
Okay.
If I'm remembering correctly when I broke this down. It's been a minute since I did this one, so I'm trying to catch all of the details. But yeah, the 12 sections along that outer one are divided for the astrological division, but also the months and also this idea of priesthood order.
Okay.
In a series of 12.
And so I think this is a cosmology. I think this is you're not. We haven't talked at all about whether you have any astronomical background.
No, not
okay.
Not really.
So this is not an astronomer's or a history of us. This is a visual artist's reproduction.
Yes.
Of kind of the cosmology as you read it in the Pearl of Great Price.
Yes. Yeah.
And in the woodcuts.
Yeah.
The facsimiles. That's the word I'm looking for.
Yeah.
So it looks like you're envisioning sort of orbits within orbits, right? Kind of Ezekiel wheel inside a wheel, right? Where you've got the Earth orbiting the sun which is under the influence of Kolob, which is orbiting God's throne.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, these kinds of stages, this ladder upwards up to the throne of God.
And you're mixing in priesthood and cosmology, meaning that there's a direct correspondence.
I think so, and I just think that the vehicle to communicate these kinds of truths symbolically in Abraham's time, it makes sense that it would be a cosmological framework, and that it's not meant to be understood literally when people talk about the Abrahamic cosmology, but that it's a symbolic.
Yeah, I love how you have Abraham and Joseph as the two looking up at this there, and they're looking at it through like the Urim and Thummim on Joseph's side, right? And through a stone there with Abraham as the astronomer. I think that's such a fascinating thing to show, because I mean, something that's been standing out to me more and more. You look at how God speaks to Abraham and promises him that he will like have descendants as numerous as the stars, right?
Yeah.
And what is God pointing to when he says that?
Yeah.
God's really saying, I will make you like me, because God is pointing out to all of the other planets and stars that he created, right?
Yeah.
He's pointing to all his other children. He's telling Abraham, I'll make you like me. And so I think that this is a fascinating thing that you're showing here, that like he's showing Abraham looking up into this night sky, and that promise that was given to Abraham is still valid in our day through the restoration brought by Joseph.
Well, that's a super interesting point I think you've made almost on a throwaway basis. The promise to Abraham in, what is this, Genesis 17, that you'll have progeny
unending.
Yeah. And is it like the stars or numbered like the stars or something, right?
Something like that, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So it resonates, man, because there's the correspondence between this is an old Hebrew piece of symbolism, the correspondence between a star and a priest. Mm-hmm. And so the title of Yahweh, which is the Lord of Hosts, or Yahweh Tzvaot, literally in contemporary translations, you'll see that rendered as something like Yahweh of the armies. Who are the armies? The armies are the stars. They are the angels. So it's super interesting. I think you're right, and I don't think I've thought of this before, that there is at least an echo that to have children like the stars is implies divinization. Like, who has children like the stars? Like, those are God's children. That is God's army. Super interesting.
Is that connection? How old is that connection? Is that like Zohar, or is that older?
I think it's older. I think it's in the Old Testament, and you see it. One of the ways you see it is in the recurrence. There's a word in Hebrew, ot, or sometimes biblical. My Hebrew, I learned it weird. I learned sort of biblical Hebrew, but also listened to Israeli pop music. So I have contemporary pronunciation. So like a Bible guy would say oath, maybe, but it means sign. So the lights that are put up in heaven are signs. They're otiot, they're oats. But also an oat is put upon Cain. And in Isaiah 8, there's a speaker who says, I and my children will be oats, will be signs, right? In the context of prophesying of the coming of Emmanuel.
So if this is pre-Kabbalah,
I
and
think
you're going back to the Tanakh.
Yeah, I think it's Isaiah and Genesis.
Does that have any resonance or connection with larger Mesopotamian culture?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think the answer is yes, but like I'm offhand, I'm not going to be able to point you at stuff. Okay. But I think that idea that the stars are gods is really, really old. Yeah. So anyway, super interesting connection.
Speaking of the greater Mesopotamian area, okay, you've got the pyramids in here.
Yes. Yeah.
Do you have? Is that
not
because
just any pyramids? Those are clearly the pyramids of Giza.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit more about why those.
Well, I just wanted to bring in, like I said, ancient Egypt. I think there's a lot to ancient Egypt that will help us understand. The more we know about ancient Egypt, the more we understand kind of the early history.
Do you know about which stars they point to specifically?
Yeah, well, I can't remember. I know they are corresponded to stars.
Isn't it Orion's belt?
Yeah, I think it's Orion's belt. The three stars of Orion's belt.
Yeah.
And do you know, was it you who told me this, or was this maybe this is something
Probably
from Robert
someone
Boylan?
smarter than me.
There's a specific shaft in the Pyramid of Giza that points to Sirius, the dog star. Do you know what the Egyptians called it?
Particular days.
Yeah, and do you know what they called Sirius?
I don't think so.
Kolob.
Oh.
And so this is I think this is Robert Boylan. And so this
Super
is
interesting. Kolob is the Hebrew word for dog. I don't know offhand the Egyptian word for dog. That's interesting.
Yeah, so that's I'm probably butchering pieces of this from old conversations I've had with Robert Boylan, but like there's deeper meaning in this even with the pyramids being associated with Kolob here in a really fascinating way. We should try to talk to
I think
Boylan
I've seen something like
Aren't
that.
the pyramid texts found on the walls of the Pyramid of Giza? Isn't that where they come from? Do I have to Wikipedia stuff?
Oh, I
did not come prepared for this discussion.
Yeah. We just got deep faster than I thought.
The Osiris stuff, the Osiris strand in Egyptian religion appears way early in the very beginning. And but it appears as available to royalty, and then over time it becomes democratized. So first it appears on the walls of pyramids, and in that form it's called the pyramid texts. Okay, and man, this is the piece where I think this is right. Okay, I could be wrong. I think this is right. I think it's in Giza, and my memory is that the earliest pyramid texts, at a certain point, 80 years ago, somebody realized they'd been reading them backwards because they were meant to be read. The beginning of the pyramid text was in the room where the coffin was. So they were meant to be read as Pharaoh rose out of his coffin, and then starting there, going to the outside, not the other way around. And the pyramid texts are the journey of the king through his judgment and becoming the god Osiris.
Yeah.
Right? Now, man, I was not prepared for this conversation. That's in a pyramid. I think it's in Giza. So if that's right, man, you've put like some interesting like Osiris divinization, resurrection stuff here by implication.
The little research I've done on things like the Greek mysteries and some of these more esoteric traditions, to me, they all do point back to Egypt as one of the earliest kind of fountains of that. And I think Joseph Smith caught that a little bit, and that is part of why he was so interested in Egyptology as a vehicle for finding more of the things that needed to be restored.
So you're mixing Greek Hermetica, Mesopotamian symbology, and Egyptian cosmology all in one soup?
Yeah, well, I think it all is this idea of Prisca Theologia. There's one source from which all these other traditions sprang from. Yeah. So I like that, and I think Joseph Smith was somewhat the same in that he's drawing from all these traditions, understanding that they all come from the same source, and that if you trace the threads back from each of them, you'll reach that one origin.
Yeah, it's cool because it's like we talk a lot in the church about like the great apostasy only, right? We focus so much on the great apostasy and forget the fact that there was an apostasy before Abraham, right? Abraham himself was bringing this fullness of truth. He was in an apostate place.
This is earth. It's apostasies all the way down.
Yeah, exactly.
to the very beginning.
And so that truth that was taught to Adam was eventually lost. And so, of course, we'd expect to see those echoes of it all throughout. And I love that you're incorporating those into this art in such a cool way.
It's interesting because I'm not a Book of Abraham guy. I mean, I like it, but like it's not, right? I spent a lot more time in the Book of Mormon. But I have had sort of a sneaking suspicion that it might be an apocryphon and that it might actually be sort of a Hellenistic era. That doesn't mean it's not like pseudepigraphy. The ancients are perfectly comfortable writing books under somebody else's name, right?
Sure,
the fact that somebody 1,000 years after Abraham might write under his name does not disbar it from being a book does not bar it from being an inspired book. But it's interesting, and this like above all, this is an artistic interpretation, right? This is something to read and react to. But it's interesting that we're throwing out terms like Prisca Theologia and like, because actually to me it has always felt like Abraham might not be 1600 BC, but it might be sort of from the time when the Hermetic texts were being written.
Sure. Yeah.
Right.
Or it could very well be that what we are experiencing with the Book of Abraham is Semitic adaptation. If you've got a Ptolemaic dynasty Jewry that is looking to explain and justify their culture within Egypt itself.
Well, and a Greco-Roman Egypt.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's either Ptolemaic dynasty or early empire, right? But the process is the same. It's some type of Semitic adaptation where they're saying, okay, we've got this spectrum of Egyptian modeling.
Yeah.
Let me show you how it works from a House of Israel perspective, right? And so they're going to be taking the Osiris and all of these other images from the Book of the Dead, and then transposing those or using them as a vehicle to explain the wherefores of their position.
Yeah, making which, if that's right, and like we're just sort of saying what if, we're throwing out possibilities, right? But like that would put the Book of Abraham and the facsimiles kind of in the space of Philo, right?
Right.
At a cross-cultural point of communication. I think that's super interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm just the artist. You guys do the reading.
No. What? Yeah, I'm sorry, but
No,
So tell me about Kai van Rush. What do you think? I don't want to say like, what do you think that is? But that's actually my question.
Yeah. So that was a tricky one. Let me see. I think I've written down.
I mean, it's here. It looks like sort of a transmission belt of some kind, right?
Well, it says in facsimile 2 that the sun borrows its light from Kolob through the medium of Kai van Rush, which is the grand key, or in other words, the governing power which governs 15 other fixed planets or stars. So it's a medium of governance described as a grand key.
Which I love that you connect that with priesthood.
Yeah.
As you're explaining this, because that's totally how Joseph Smith used the term.
And a priesthood order that kind of governs the orbits and the revolutions of these celestial bodies.
And I love that the priesthood is cosmological in this piece of art, right? There's not a distinction between like a person with authority who would say, this is what must be done, and then someone who, accepting that authority, does it, and a celestial body which exerts its authority over another celestial body, right? We're running those together.
Yeah, like gravity, like light.
Like gravity and like light. Yeah.
And it's cool that your symbolism, the symbol that you're using here is like a shaft of light, right?
Yeah.
With that being connected to Kolob, which you are using as a symbol of Christ here, with Christ being the light of the world, right?
Yeah.
Like there's such cool echoes.
And that the priesthood is the order of the Son of God. Yeah, the order of Christ. And it even said 15 bodies, and that could even be a reference to, 12 apostles and 3 a presidency. So that number 15 might be significant as well.
Now, do you have the 15 depicted? Because I see.
No, I don't have the 15 depicted. I thought that might spill outside of the scope of this this illustration. But I did try to put in this idea of noble and great ones at different kind of distances from the realm of God.
Yeah.
This idea of prophets and preordained intelligences.
That's fascinating.
So I'm interested. It looks like most of your stars in the upper orbit here have 8 points. Is that right?
Yes.
Except Kolob and Oliblish, where you've drawn which is a difficult thing to do, you've drawn 10-pointed stars.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
I'm trying to remember exactly why, because I do think there was an
It must have been deliberate. That's not an easy star to draw.
No, it's not an easy star to draw. I'd have to look back at my numerology stuff. But yeah, 10 is significant, and 8 also, especially in a priesthood context, is significant. But yeah, you've got these two bigger stars, as described as being kind of the greater ones, and then these other ones in the outer orbit. That might not be a satisfactory answer. I'd have to, but yeah, the numerology, especially the numerology of the ancients, is quite interesting when you deep dive into it. But
yeah, I'm fascinated to learn more about that, and I love what you've got going on with Nolam, and then the infinity symbol beneath.
Yeah, this idea of eternity, one eternal round, and things like that.
And the way that the outer orbit here isn't broken up into 12 the way that the one around the Earth is.
Sure, yeah.
It's cool. It's like this solid idea that it's never ending.
Yeah,
That's
these
cool.
just...
What's the meaning of the surrounding stars that seem to be moving inward?
Yeah, that's just this idea of the Kokobium, all the other intelligences, which, Dave talks about that stars representing priests, or it could just be priests and priestesses, the other great intelligences, and kind of that the gravity is pulling them, the orbit is pulling them closer to the realm of God, that's where kind of this celestial gravity flows.
Oh,
That's very cool. Yeah, when I first saw this, it was actually... a buddy of mine showed it to me, and I was just like, this is so cool.
Oh, thanks,
like,
yeah.
I feel like what I see happen most often with Kolob nowadays is it is something that gets thrown at us from people who are trying to shame us.
Yes,
People who
always,
are trying to make us feel stupid for believing in God and feel stupid for believing in the Book of Abraham or in Joseph Smith's story. But you have put this in such a cool place. Now we have this really interesting picture that's like, with Kolob, the star nearest to this all-seeing eye of God. And I love it because it helps us think, okay, what are the symbols being explained in the Book of Abraham? What are we supposed to learn in these things? And how can this bring us nearer to God, like all of these stars are being brought closer to him, right?
Exactly. And I feel like you said, we always talk about Kolob pretty much from a defensive posture, because whenever we talk about it, it's not in a lot of our curriculum at church these days, I don't think. But whenever we talk about it in the broader discussion, it's always defending it from people who are attacking it in Joseph Smith. And the apologetics is great and it's good, but I like not coming from a defensive posture, talking about it openly because it's a good thing to talk about. And it's interesting, and it, like you said, it is part of learning what it means to come closer to God, to be transformed, to transcend into this higher state.
I love that there's an eye looking down at Joseph and Abraham, and they are looking back up.
Yeah.
And there's this interesting the motif of 3 is repeated several times across the base, right? You got 3 pyramids, you got 3 trees. Joseph has two glasses in his interpreters. Abraham is looking through 1 stone, right? Between them, they have 3 lenses. But it's, again, I'm the viewer, so like I'm not going to suggest that anything I'm saying is what you intended. But there's a in Indo-European languages, to know something is often to have seen it. Okay, the Greek verb oida, which is a perfect in form. It's I have seen something, I know it, which is related to video, I see, right? Our words visual, for example, related to wit and wisdom. We know things because we see them. So the kind of bookend images, not exactly, but you've got men looking up at God, right? Which in some kind of, it's very bold.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah, sure.
Their heads aren't bowed, right? It's a I've been invited, right? God wants me to look up.
Yeah.
Right. And we're warned if we're not prepared when we see God, we'll be destroyed, right? So here are these men, they've been given tools, they're looking up, and God is looking back down at them, right? And there's this sort of reciprocal knowledge.
And you've got the divide between the all-seeing eye and mortality with
these clouds
that I
divide the
interpret
space
as like a veil.
Yeah.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was intentional. And yes, and that's why Abraham and Joseph also don't have shoes on. They're seers in a position to approach God for this knowledge.
Take off your shoes if you stand on holy ground.
Yeah.
Super interesting. Now, Joseph is sitting on a foundation stone.
Yeah.
Right? Or I'm probably going to get this wrong, but I think a Freemason would say a smooth ashlar, right? So a rough stone gets smoothed out into a block. And I think that's one of the sort of, this is very Freemasonic here of you, Caleb.
Yeah. So I've been told, yeah.
Right?
Bring in that heresy. Yeah.
But in Freemasonry, I think, saying this not as a Freemason, but I think that is an image for personal development, right? The idea is the Mason exists first as a rough stone.
That's smooth.
And Masonry is a tool whereby his fellows help him become a square block, right? So that's an interesting image. And of course, Helaman 5:12, the foundation stone is Christ.
Yeah.
Layers upon layers of meaning.
That's what I like to do. It just helps me unpack the scriptures more when I churn the words into these visual symbols and into these scenes and settings and characters.
Yeah.
That's awesome, dude. I love it.
Fantastic. Thank you. And this is just one piece. So thank you.
Yeah, this is just one because I was sick of the Kolob slander. So I said, you know what? I'm not going to put up with that anymore.
Reclaim Kolob.
Make
Reclaiming
Kolob art.
Yeah, that's right.
I love it.
Thank you.
It's awesome.
Well done.
Thank you for joining us today, guys. It's been a blast talking with, oh my gosh, I want to call you Caleb.
Caleb.
Yeah,
It is your name. What the heck? The connection between Kolob and Caleb it's fascinating.
That's the other
fate.
symbolism.
It's fate.
It's fate. Yeah. There you
Yes,
go.
it really kind of is, honestly. So thank you for joining us today. We've had Caleb explaining to us a little bit of the symbolism that you can find in the some of his art. And
We've been explaining some of it to him, to be candid.
Yes, that is true. That is true.
And you can find his art on libraryofgodwin.com.
Yes, libraryofgodwin.com and on social media at Library of Godwin on Instagram, X, and Facebook.
Awesome. So make sure to like and subscribe. Also, go give him a like and subscribe to him. Check out more of his stuff. Buy some of his art. He's got a really cool illustrated copy of the Book of Mormon. It's awesome. This is just a hardcover that has all the illustrations, but then there's the book itself with the full
actual text,
which is so cool. So please follow Library of Godwin. And I guess until next time, stay curious and hungry.
Well done.
All right.